Hyenas are often misunderstood in India, seen as scavengers and nuisance. However, they play a crucial role in the ecosystem as both scavengers and predators.
Hyenas generally have this unnecessary sort of a perception from people, thanks to maybe movies like Lion Kings or thanks to the African safari shows where they are always the antagonist in front of a lion. But Indian striped hyenas obviously are first a different species. These are very shy, elusive animals, rarely seen during the day, only seen in the night, nocturnal species, not outright hunters, but that doesn't mean they never hunt. They do hunt as well sometimes, but most of the times they will eat whatever is available around, and they will try to avoid humans more than anyone else. So sometimes I feel it's not justified for an animal like a hyena to have that perception just because of the name that it follows. Extremely crucial for the ecosystem. Without these animals, I don't think there would be anybody else who would do the cleanup crew job like these animals do.
Hello everyone, this is Ranjeet Jadhav. Welcome to the 6th episode of Navigating the Wild. You must have heard stories about injured wild animals spending the rest of their lives in cages. In this episode, we bring to you a remarkable story of an injured hyena caught in a poacher's trap. Rescued by the Maharashtra Forest Department and Rescue Charitable Trust, this hyena was given a life-saving treatment, was radio-collared and released back into the wild. This exemplifies the potential for second chances in nature. In September 2022, in the Malsheras range of Solapur Forest Department, an adult male hyena was rescued. The story begins when local villagers reported seeing a hyena with a foot trap on its right forelimb. The Solapur Forest Department immediately called in the Rescue Charitable Trust team for assistance.
Upon reaching there, we realized that the darting the animal was not going to be possible because it was basically running in a sugarcane field, and getting a clear shot was going to be difficult. So we managed to corner him in the area and we had to manually capture the hyena. So we used our nets to capture it. Once it was captured in the net, Dr. Kalyani from our team, who's a vet, sedated the animal, and then we brought it out from the field. After the animal was sedated, we found out that the right leg was stuck in a foot trap, and this animal was running around for the past 3-4 days. I don't know when the animal got stuck in the foot trap, but looking at it, it felt like it must have been stuck for approximately 3 to 4 days. So after stabilizing it, we manually removed the foot trap, but its paws and everything were quite bad. It had already started, rotting. So we provided first aid on field, and then it was transported to a center back in Pune.
The exact date the trap became attached to the hyena's leg is unknown, but the doctors estimated it had been there for 3 to 4 days based on the line's deterioration.
The foot trap had cut deep into the first carpal joints, exposing all the bones of carpal and metacarpal, and there was a lot of necrosis which had already placed in. So in this case, we had to sedate this hyena. We had to use strong sedatives because he was already in pain and he was resisting a lot for this sedation. Also, like after that, we had to take him under our care, where we did like dressings, we did thorough checkup, we ran some blood tests, we had to take some x-rays of his paw. We observed that there are multiple bones which were fractured. Also his carpal joint was exposed. Infections which have set in this condition we had no choice other than amputating the leg of this hyena. So we were also thinking, will this hyena survive in this wild habitat with 3 legs?
The hyena recovered well from anesthesia and despite being on 3 legs, began to self-feed the next day. Laser therapy was initiated to accelerate wound healing. After approximately 2.5 months of intensive treatment, the hyena was medically fit and active.
The next challenge was to do regular dressing and the post-operative care. Because if you think about wild animals, you cannot daily sedate them just for the treatments. So sometimes we have to manage treatments remotely. We had to give medication through his food. So this way we did his post-operative care.
After demonstrating remarkable recovery and meeting all the rehabilitation milestones, the hyena was deemed fit for release. In a groundbreaking decision, the hyena was collared 10 days prior to the release to monitor its survival in the wild.
The plan was to track this hyena for at least a couple of months, maybe 3 months, because if an adult hyena of that size survives for 3 months, then it will survive the rest of its life. So that was the plan. It was released about in 5 kilometers area from where it was found.
On February 15th, 2023, with support from the PCCF Mahib Gupta and Deputy Conservator of Forest Dhairyashil Patil, the hyena was released back into the wild.
Initial few days the hyena remained in that particular area, but once it understood that it's a familiar territory, it's a familiar area, the patterns were pretty interesting. The hyena used to sort of fend or use the agricultural fields during the night and go back and use the slopey terrains back in the day. Maybe it was using that as a shelter, using that as rest. These areas were dominated with human settlements around. There were highways in between. Multiple times the hyena had crossed the highway. So I think in the first couple of months it had covered the distance of roughly around 150 to 160 kilometers, and in a straight line it was about 20 kilometers. So it was going about its business pretty well. Eventually the collar was dropped off and we knew that this animal can survive pretty well.
The story of resilient hyena is a testament to the possibility of wildlife recovery and rehabilitation. It is a precedent for future cases, proving that even those with severe injuries can find their way back to the wild, given the right care and conditions.
Generally in cases like this, animals are then put into lifetime captivity. But what we try to do differently here, from the time an animal comes into rescue, our entire planning when it comes to the animal is what can we do so that this animal can go back to its natural habitat and as fast as possible, and while it is with us, how do we mitigate its captivity stress? The rehabilitators put all their energy into making sure that it is not under stress while it is with us. It's being given sufficient opportunity to test its survival skills. So what are its survival skills essentially? It needs to be able to run, it needs to be able to scavenge, it needs to be able to hide, and basically its agility, its mobility should not be compromised.
This successful rescue and rehabilitation showcases the importance of giving these misunderstood creatures a chance to thrive.
This was also a first of its kind, that releasing an animal with an amputated limb, and it survived pretty well. So just goes to show the tenacity, the resilience that these animals have. I mean, we always get to learn from these animals that you give them an inch and they will make sure that they maximize it, which is what even this hyena did.
And this really goes to show that there is value in rehabilitating these animals. While it might be just about an individual animal, this same very animal, if it was put in lifetime captivity, it's not just that it would have a lifetime in captivity, but also the fact that it burdens resources so greatly to have these animals kept caged up for life when they can actually survive back in their natural habitats. So each and every animal that goes back, I mean, has got a second chance at life in its habitat. It's free, and I think that is definitely the way forward. As human wildlife conflict increases, our needs have increased with time, with increasing development, urbanization, our needs have gone up. And I think somewhere as an organization and the work we do, we're trying our best to balance this out. And in balancing it out, we're making sure that we do justice to their life. Even though we rescue them, rehabilitate them, the idea is to give them a second shot back at, in their natural habitat. And the whole idea is to keep wildlife wild.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.